Prince Andrew has been forced to leave Buckingham Palace after being told by the King and his brother that he can no longer live.
When Queen Elizabeth II passed away, the world was plunged into mourning. Yet, inside the royal walls of Buckingham Palace, something far more unexpected was about to unfold. The royal family had always been a spectacle, a blend of tradition, power, and deep-seated loyalty. But the moment Prince Andrew, her embattled second son, rose to read the Queen's final will, the royal household descended into chaos. For decades, Prince Andrew has been a polarizing figure within the monarchy. His name alone stirs up whispers of scandal, legal battles, and an ongoing struggle for redemption. So, when news broke that the Queen had selected him to read out her will, the very air at Buckingham Palace became charged with tension. Why, after all this time, would Queen Elizabeth trust Prince Andrew with such a sacred duty? The question reverberated through the halls of the royal residence, echoing in the minds of family members and royal watchers alike. Inside the grand, stately room at Windsor Castle, the Queen's will was read aloud for the first time. Prince Andrew, visibly composed yet undeniably aware of the weight on his shoulders, unfurled the vellum scroll with ceremonial precision. The room grew still as the Duke of York began his delivery, his voice the only sound in the space. "My beloved family," the words began, simple yet filled with a profound sense of closure. What followed was a legacy, a distribution of wealth, affection, and power that would forever change the dynamics of the royal family. First came the acknowledgement of King Charles III, the Queen's eldest son who had ascended to the throne after his mother's passing, was, as expected, named as the primary heir to the throne and the custodian of the crown estate. Charles's inheritance was a massive responsibility, as the monarchy's power, wealth, and influence hinged on his reign. Yet, even in this moment of power, the Queen's will subtly hinted at the nature of royal duty. Power was earned, not simply inherited. The weight of leadership came with heavy expectations, and no one knew this better than the new king himself. The next name read was that of Princess Anne, the Queen's only daughter, whose quiet strength and unwavering loyalty had always been in the background of royal life. Known for her devotion to duty and her fierce commitment to the monarchy, Anne's role was often underappreciated. But in her mother's will, Anne's unrelenting service was finally recognized in a way that spoke volumes. The Queen entrusted Anne with a significant share of the sovereign grant, an acknowledgement of her years of silent sacrifice. The allocation of the sovereign grant to Anne was a deeply personal gesture, a reward for the sister who had never sought the limelight, but had always been there for her mother when it mattered most. As Prince Andrew continued to read, a sudden hush swept through the room. The next passage was the unexpected and somewhat controversial part of the will, the Queen's decision to extend forgiveness to her son, Prince Andrew. Despite the scandal and legal battles that had embroiled him in recent years, the Queen chose to leave him a meaningful share of her wealth. She entrusted Andrew with a portion of the royal estate, a symbolic gesture that not only recognized his place within the family, but also conveyed a mother's enduring love and forgiveness. In addition to this, Andrew was given the Queen's beloved corgis, Muck and Sandy, animals that had been her constant companions through the isolation of the pandemic and the final years of her life. For Andrew, this moment was particularly poignant. His relationship with the Queen had always been complicated, yet in this final act she showed that love and family could transcend even the most painful of past. But the revelations didn't stop there. The next name that was read aloud caused quite a stir: Catherine, Princess of Wales. As the future Queen consort and the steadying force behind Prince William, Catherine had long been a beloved figure in the public eye. However, what stunned those present in the room, and what would leave the public talking for days, was the sheer value of the Queen's personal gift to her. Catherine was bequeathed a significant portion of the Queen's private jewelry collection, including some of the most exquisite and iconic pieces that the Queen had worn throughout her reign. Worth an estimated £90 million, these jewels were more than just valuable. They were symbols of the Queen's power and prestige, worn on some of the most historic occasions in British history. The gesture was a clear indication of how the Queen viewed Catherine's role in the future of the monarchy. She was not merely a consort, but a woman of power in her own right, someone who could one day wield influence in ways that transcended tradition. This was more than a bequest. It was a passing of the crown, and in some respects a silent acknowledgement that Catherine would one day stand shoulder to shoulder with her husband as the future of the royal family. Yet, as the royal family's inheritance was read aloud, the most conspicuous absence was that of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Despite their dramatic exit from royal duties and their subsequent fallout with the family, many expected to see some form of gesture in their direction, an acknowledgement perhaps of their royal heritage. But their names were conspicuously absent from the will. Was this a deliberate move on the Queen's part to distance herself from the couple's controversial departure from royal life? Or was it simply a recognition of the decisions they had made to step away from their royal duties? The silence surrounding their exclusion spoke volumes, and the media was quick to pounce on the omission, as further evidence of the widening rift between the Sussexes and the rest of the royal family. But perhaps the most lasting effect of the will's reading was the ripple of tension it caused within the royal family itself. With each name that was called, with each inheritance granted, the weight of the royal legacy seemed to grow heavier. King Charles, though deeply saddened by the loss of his mother, now faced the immense challenge of preserving the monarchy's legacy while managing the fractured relationships within his own family. His brother Andrew's continued presence within the royal fold was a constant point of tension, with the king reportedly wanting him to downsize and relinquish his beloved royal lodge in favor of a more modest residence. Yet Andrew, bolstered by his mother's will, seemed determined to resist any pressure to retreat into the background. The fight over royal estates was now in full swing, with Andrew standing firm and Charles looking to restore order. As the will was read and the royal family was left to reflect on its contents, a clear question emerged. Can the monarchy survive this? Can the royal family heal the deep divisions that have emerged over the years? Or will the Queen's final act of division lead to an even greater rift? The Queen's will was not just a distribution of wealth, it was a blueprint for the future of the British monarchy. It laid bare the fractures that had long been hidden behind palace walls and exposed the complexities of family loyalty, legacy, and the pursuit of power. But perhaps more than anything, it showed the deep, enduring love of a mother for her children, even in the face of public disgrace. The royal family may be fractured, but in the end, Queen Elizabeth's legacy remains as strong as ever, an institution that endures despite the tumult of modern times. What do you think? Will the Queen's will bring about a new era of unity, or will it further fracture the royal family? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.